Disabilities Issues and Updates on BCTV is supported by the Berks County Center for Independent Living, Abilities in Motion.
We do want to let our viewers know we are planning our programming for the year of 2018. So if you have a topic or even want to be a part of the program for the year of 2018, please contact me as soon as possible at 610-376-0010. Again, my extension is 108. Today's guest is Derek Evans, who is an entrepreneur, an author, and a speaker. And our topic is POTS. Derek, welcome. Welcome to our show today. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So nice to have you. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
So yeah, my name's Derek Evans. I'm 26 years old. I've been born and raised in Berks County my whole life. And so I'm not really too interesting, like to do a lot of normal things like to read, write, spend time with family and friends, as well as watch and play sports. One thing about me is, like I said, I am an author, entrepreneur, and at 17 years old, I was diagnosed with POTS.
Wow, POTS.
Yeah.
Now listen, it says POTS, P-O-T-S. What is the medical terminology for that word?
Yeah, so the medical term, they call it POTS, so it's easier for people to understand, because the medical term is actually, it stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Wow, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Explain key words that go along with POTS.
So some keywords for POTS is, I'll spell it as like the postural. So like when you stand up.
Okay.
And then the O is for orthostatic, which basically is when your blood pressure drops, or it's just increased or, big drop in blood pressure. The tachycardia, then the increase in heart rate.
Okay.
And then as it comes together, it's a syndrome.
Okay. And again, can you tell us what POTS stands for?
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So basically what POTS is when you stand up, a lot of times your blood pressure drops dramatically, which increases heart rate. Okay. And a lot of times sometimes as little as 10 minutes of standing, you pass out. And then it doesn't get better. Some people, they might stand up and they might have to catch themselves a little bit. They feel a little woozy. But in this case, it's the longer you stand, the faster your heart continues to race until sometimes it does lead to, fainting and stuff of that nature.
This might sound like a strange question, but what are the fun facts about POTS?
So a lot of the fun facts, I wouldn't say POTS is fun, but some interesting stuff that a lot of people might not know is despite that not much of society knows about POTS, there's actually currently over 500,000 people in the United States that are diagnosed with POTS. So, which is actually a lot considering that when I talk to a lot of people, they don't know about it. When I did an interview, when I did a survey for my book, I said, have you ever heard of POTS? And 80% of the people said they never heard of it before.
Never heard of it.
And then I sit there and think, 80% of people never heard of it, but yet 500,000 people out there are diagnosed with it. And even some doctors aren't even 100% sure about it, because it wasn't actually found until 1993.
Wow, wow.
So it is recent. It was still within 25 years of existence, and they've still been doing a lot of research. One of the things about POTS is there is a specialist. Like I said, not every doctor's going to know about it. But there's a specialist out of the University of Toledo called Dr. Blair Grubb. And one of the things they also started doing is down in Texas, they actually have a research center now for POTS.
Wow.
Because what they've been starting to realize is some of the astronauts they send into space, when they come back, when they work at NASA, when they come back, they actually started to have symptoms of POTS.
Wow.
And they're starting to have find a correlation between your body doesn't respond well to gravity.
Okay.
Which that's why one of the things is POTS is a dysautonomia disorder. And for those that might not know what dysautonomia disorder is actually an imbalance in your autonomic nervous system.
Wow.
And so they're correlating that imbalance is that your nervous system isn't responding well to gravity, and they're starting to find that now in astronauts that return from space. So there's a lot of research going on out there.
Wow, wow, wonderful. That's good. That's really good. one of the things that you said in your conversation is that there's a lot of research out there. So can you tell our viewers your experience when you realized something was wrong? What happened?
So I was 17 at the time, 2008. I was actually currently lifeguarding at a Antietam pool.
Okay.
And just kind of, it was a normal day. I did feel a little bit tired more than usual, so I decided to take a quick nap when I was off the lifeguard chair.
Okay.
I woke from the nap and went up on the lifeguard chair, and for some reason my heart was racing, and then I remember when as a lifeguard, you kind of twirl your whistle around in your hand, and I was almost couldn't feel my limbs in space.
Can I just ask you a question there? Did you think maybe you were having heat exhaustion if you were in the sun being a lifeguard? Did you think it might have been that, or?
Yeah, so my first thought was, wow, either I'm struggling with the sun or the heat.
Okay.
Or my first is maybe, which I didn't know why, but maybe it was maybe it's anxiety. So I kept tell myself. So my first thought was maybe I should blow the whistle and tell someone I need to get down. But then at the first I was no, I just want to tough it out because I don't want to people think I'm going to lose my job. I really didn't know what was going on.
Do you remember the time frame when you were feeling this way?
Yeah, between 4 and 5 o'clock. And actually, it's kind of one of those things where I think everything happens for a reason. I wasn't feeling well.
Okay.
But 15 minutes into my shift, I started to thunder. So we actually had to clear the pool and get down from the pool. And then I just I drove home. It was a very long drive home. Again, I didn't feel well. And then I thought maybe I'd just sleep it off.
Okay.
I thought maybe I was sick. Maybe it was heat exhaustion. I actually woke up in the middle of the night, and as I was walking to the bathroom, I started to faint. And then that's when I realized it's something is, it's not getting better. We know I'm now in a cool place. Went to the doctor the next day, and then from there, it was kind of a roller coaster ride. At first, the doctor said, oh, you have a viral infection. You just got really sick.
Let me just interject. You said, did you actually pass out, though, when you were on your way? Did you pass out?
So everything went black, and I yelled for help.
Oh.
And then I kind of I threw myself down to the ground. I kind of put my head down.
Okay.
And then everything was blurry. And then, like I said, my stepfather actually came up to see what was wrong with me.
Okay.
And then I kind of laid on my bed. And then over time, as I was laying down, as things became less blurry and started to go back to normal.
Okay.
So it wasn't I fully fainted, no.
Okay.
But luckily, I don't, like I said, everything did go black, and that's when I screamed.
Okay,
And then,
okay. But you actually didn't pass out totally.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry for interjecting. I
Yeah,
just wanted to make sure there. And then the next day you went to the doctor?
Yeah, and they just thought it was a viral infection. They just told me to rest for a couple weeks, which I did, and I rested, and actually the symptoms just got worse. Now after I was resting so much, and I still felt so tired and fatigued, and I would stand up, and my heart would race worse than it did before. When the first day I felt something was wrong in that lifeguard chair, and it just became a whirlwind for the next couple of months. I saw different doctors. I was in the hospital multiple times, and they're saying, oh, maybe it's Lyme disease. So I was doing all these tests, Lyme disease. And then some were saying, oh, you're just having anxiety. And it wasn't until in middle of August 2008, that I actually went and saw, his name was Dr. Raymond Hubbard at Rank Pediatrics.
Okay.
I was explaining my symptoms about how when I stood up, everything happened to me.
Okay.
And that's when he did a thing called the tilt table test, which is where they sat me down, they lay me down,
okay,
and then they took my blood pressure and they took my heart rate. Then they sat me up, they waited 5 to 10 minutes, took my blood pressure, my heart rate, and then they had me stand. After 5 to 10 minutes, they waited and they took my blood pressure, my heart rate. And that's when he realized the dramatic decrease in my blood pressure and the dramatic increase in my heart rate upon lying down to standing. For a normal person, usually, let's say if their heart rate lying down is, let's just say maybe it's 60.
Okay.
But usually you standing, it's not really supposed to go much over 100. But in my case at that time, when I was lying down, it was a 60, but when I stood up, it was up to 150. That's when he realized, and then my blood pressure with that also was my blood pressure had dropped, and that's when he realized that everything was being caused, and that's when he diagnosed me with the POTS.
Okay. Can I just ask you a question, Derek? What was the time frame from the time that you originally went to the doctor and they had kind of said that it was a virus to when they actually gave you the diagnosis of POTS? Was it a couple months? Was it a year? How was that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I was I first started feeling something was wrong. My first time I went to a doctor was in mid-June 2008. And actually, I was diagnosed almost exactly 2 months later in August 2008, which actually is a lot quicker than most people with POTS.
Okay.
But during those 2 months, I went through numerous doctors, and there's 2 or 3 hospital visits in there as well, and during those hospital visits and during the times to doctors, they were all misdiagnosed. It wasn't until I finally ran into a doctor that actually was educated on POTS that I was able to be diagnosed. A lot of times, that's why people with POTS, it takes so long. And there's some people, when I interview them for my book, where a couple of years went by until they finally got a proper diagnosis.
Okay.
And it's because there's many doctors out there yet that still aren't familiar with POTS. They don't feel educated enough to diagnose it. So you just kind of luck of the draw. You just keep going to doctors until you find someone that knows.
Totally understand. Let's just go back. So the first doctor actually said it was a virus. The other doctor said, just a summary, virus was the one. What other misdiagnosis did they give you? That it was?
One thought it was, they thought it might have been mono Lyme disease until I got blood tests, and that ruled that out.
Okay, what is mono Lyme disease, you said? Is that?
Yeah, one was Lyme disease.
Okay, Lyme disease,
and then, blood test ruled that out, and then they thought I had mono.
Okay.
And another blood test ruled that out.
Because mono is like where you're extremely tired, and Lyme disease is, what's the symptoms of that?
I guess, again, it's kind of like fatigue and like sick. I guess they wanted to rule those out, and then they really didn't know what was going on. So I think a lot of times when they don't know what's going on, they just automatically assume, well, maybe you're having anxiety.
Right.
And so then they kind of just said you're having anxiety, and then they put me on, of course, and they tried to go to medicine, and they said, here, take these anti-anxiety medication, and that didn't work. And it just, like I said, it wasn't until I finally ran into a doctor that actually was educated that I was able to finally get diagnosed.
Derek, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this question, but I'm thinking sometimes when they're not sure what you're dealing with, a doctor would prescribe a medicine. Did you have any side effects from the medicine, or was it just the thing, it wasn't anxiety, it was actually something else, or did you experience any other side effects from the medicines that you were prescribed?
Yeah, so before I was diagnosed, the anxiety medicine just didn't do anything. It just maybe, it didn't help. It didn't bring my heart rate down. It didn't take away my chest pain.
So your symptoms didn't...
The symptoms didn't decrease. I think all it did was it actually kind of made it worse in a sense. And now, besides having all these symptoms, now I kind of just feel like a zombie out there. So that didn't help. And then when I was diagnosed with POTS, because it is so new, they do trial and error. Like you say some symptoms, well, maybe for your blood pressure, they might try a beta blocker, or for your chest pain, but they really don't have much to really do with the chest pain. But sometimes maybe some people with POTS will get very nauseous. So try nauseous, medication to help with the nausea. So there's different medications out there they try, but a lot of times because there's so many symptoms involved with POTS, that the medication sometimes add more side effects than actually helping with the POTS. I've been put on a couple different medications, and I just decided not to go with the medication because it didn't take away all the symptoms, and it provided other symptoms that I normally didn't have. I just found the best way to deal with the POTS is just maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely. Wonderful. What was your recovery process with POTS?
So when he diagnosed me, he even let me know it's like this is going to be trial and error. But we're going to do everything possible and see what works. And if something works, we're going to stick with it. One of the things we did was we started off doing on land and in the pool, like aqua therapy. So twice a week I do therapy, and one day would be on land, doing a bike or walking, and another day would be doing exercises in the pool, because he thought maybe with the gravity in the water would help with the gravity, maybe retrain my nervous system to adjust to gravity again.
Because the aqua therapy actually helps concerning the gravity. It's on or off, so great.
So that's what the aqua therapy was for. And then again, it was kind of different trial medications, but none of them really ever worked. And then from the start out and school, to get through the school day, I was given, the school actually gave me an elevator key. So that way, sometimes the steps would be too much. I might not be able to make up the steps without passing out. So they gave me access to the elevator, and then every day I had to go see the nurse. And then her job was to take my blood pressure readings and my heart rate readings.
Did it fluctuate from day to day?
Yeah, it fluctuated from day to day. Some days were better than others. And also, all my teachers were aware, so if any time during the day I felt like I needed to go lay down because I couldn't sit or stand anymore, that I was able to lay down. So that kind of made it easier for me, that the school was so understanding what was going on.
Were there any days that you actually did have to go? I guess at that time you went to the nurse's office. Did you have to actually lay down if your heart rate was up or if you were overly exhausted? did you have to lay down?
Yeah, so for
Okay.
the first month, I probably went to the nurse about 3 times a day.
Okay.
Because I just couldn't make it through the school day.
Okay.
And then after that, it kind of gradually went down over time until starting to 2009, in January and New Year, I was finally able to just go there once a day for my readings.
Great.
But for the first couple of months, I had to go there, 3, 2, and then just kind of consistently got less and less as months went by.
All right. Thanks, Derek. What is so important about you bringing awareness to POTS?
Just to educate people. I think anytime someone doesn't know, like an illness, it's always good to be aware of it, just because you never know who you're going to run into that might have that illness. And then your education on that could be beneficial in that circumstance. And then one of them, as I kind of stated earlier, is, we have all these people that are diagnosed, but yet most society doesn't know about it. And then even not all the doctors know about it, which makes you wonder if doctors are more educated, how many more people are out there are not diagnosed. And then currently there's no cure. So I just think the more you can get the word out there, the more awareness that's brought, maybe the more attention will maybe hopefully one day find maybe a cure that can cure all the symptoms. And then one of the biggest things was when I was interviewing people for my book, the people that had POTS, one of the things I asked them was, have you ever suffered from depression or depressed? And everyone, I believe it, it was basically 100% of them said, yes, I have. And a lot of it wasn't because, some of it's caused because, I can't do the things I used to do. I can't run and play sports like I used to. I can't make it through a school day. Some of them actually had to be dropped out had to be taken out of school. So, some of that caused the depression, but a lot of the reasons they said they were depressed was because they feel like no one understood what they were going through.
Right.
Sometimes people look at them crazy, never heard of POTS, and then you explain it in such a long term, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Yes.
People kind of give you the look like, okay.
What is that?
What is that? And so I think they kind of feel like an outsider in that sense. So hopefully, I think by bringing more awareness to the issue, more people are educated about it. People don't have to feel like when they say, "Oh, I'm diagnosed with POTS," that people are giving them like, "Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about."
Sure.
Kind of like hopefully, since it is so common, actually, and people being diagnosed, since there's so many people diagnosed, hopefully one day my goal is, not a lot in today's society, if someone says, "Oh, maybe I have diabetes," a lot of people know what they're talking about. I guess maybe my hope is one day in the future that, if someone says I have POTS, that, that a normal person will know what they're talking about.
Wonderful. You are also an author, and so you have a book. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so I had never really planned on writing a book growing up. And I can't even say it was really a dream or anything. And really just didn't really have much interest, but, a lot of times, life kind of deals you cards and you just kind of adjust on the fly. And that's kind of what happened. I did have, I relapsed in my POTS a couple of times. And then my last relapse, in October 2016, I was actually assistant manager at Hertz Rental Car in the area. And on my way back from Shoemakersville, stopping at I was out stopping by some of the State Farm agents because that's who we had our partnership with. And then coming back from Shoemakersville, I stopped at a body shop too to talk. I wasn't feeling well. Actually, one reason I stopped at the body shop, even though I didn't have a relationship with them, is because I thought maybe if I stepped out of the car and got fresh air and talked to people, maybe it would magically make me feel better.
Right.
But it didn't. I ended up collapsing. Next thing I know, I woke up and I woke up in an ambulance on my way to the Rang Hospital. And then at that point, I knew it really set me back. And I'd been through before. I knew like this is going to take months and months of therapy and stuff to get myself back on my feet. And there's no way I can work. So I had to resign, which was frustrating because at that time, I actually was a week away from being promoted to starting my promotion as a branch manager down in Norristown. So I just received a promotion, which is going to go into effect the following week. And, now I had to give everything up because of my health. So out of frustration, I started writing, just kind of writing, what's happened to me and hoping that made me feel better.
So you started writing and you wrote the book. Tell us the title of your book.
So Close to Death Yet So Far Away.
Wow, that's an interesting title.
Yeah, so after I started writing, I realized I can make something out of this. So I reached out to other people. I had the illness, I started and reached out to mothers and doctors. And I kind of put my own thoughts into it, and that's why I came up with a book. And a lot of people have actually said about the title, even though I knew nothing about POTS, I said, well, your title's really interesting. It kind of draws me towards, which I'm glad. I guess that's what you want in a book.
Right.
But the title is actually personal to the illness because you're collapsing. You feel a lot of times when your heart's racing like that, you feel like you get in the chest pain. You almost feel like you're having a heart attack. And then literally, but then you go to these doctors, and then they'll say, oh yeah, POTS. And luckily to today, POTS has never killed anyone.
Right.
At least not to my knowledge. And so, they tell you, oh, you don't worry, or some of them don't even know about POTS, so they'll say, oh, you're just suffering from anxiety. So it's like literally you feel like you're so close to dying, or but yet you're told you're so far away.
Wow. Well, I would like to say on behalf of AIM, we sure appreciate you coming and being on our show today and educating us and our viewers on the POTS, which again means
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
That's a lot. That's really, really a lot. But as Derek said, that he has a book that is out and you can purchase the book. Where can they contact you, Derek?
So the book is available via Amazon or on the Barnes & Noble's website, or you can go to Barnes & Noble's in your local area and they can order it for you. It's also available as an audiobook.
Okay.
So you can find it on Audible or iTunes if you're not able to read, or if you just like listening to a book, if that's your preference. Or also I have my own personal website called So Close to Death Yet So Far Away.
Okay.
Which is tellmybook.com. And on there, you can learn a little bit more about my story, and you can also purchase the book through that link on there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Evans, Derek, for being on our show. We wish you the very best. We're so glad that you came and you were able to share and bring awareness concerning the POTS disease.
All right.
In closing, we want to say to our viewers today, on behalf from AIM to you, we would like to wish you a Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, and Happy New Year. We thank you for your support. And again, if you're interested or you have information or you'd like to give information as far as our 2018 programming, please give us a call. Again, thank you. And Derek, thank you again for coming. And we look forward for great things for you in 2018.
Right,
thank you again for coming.
Appreciate you having me.
Sure, it's our pleasure. Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Disabilities Issues and Updates on BCTV is supported by the Berks County Center for Independent Living, Abilities in Motion.